actually changed over from eating the regular diet like I did to a healthy, whole food, plant-based diet. So, how many of you are struggling to become vegan or plant-based? Are you working on it? Okay. That's okay. That's who I'd love to have here. People who are really want to know how to go about doing it and doing it right. My life started with this whole program 31 years ago. I had almost 50 pounds overweight. I was an aerobic instructor teaching 25 kickboxing, step classes, and things like that. And then but I still was overweight. I couldn't figure it out. Here I was, an aerobic instructor with all those classes. I thought I was eating healthy. I was eating just a little bit of chicken, a little bit of cheese. I thought that yogurt, right? Yogurt's good for you, right? Well, guess what? I found out the hard way. I got cancer 31 years ago. I had my obesity going on, even though I was an aerobic instructor. Come on, that's not fair. Right? You work out so hard. I had 25 classes a week, and I couldn't take off the extra weight. So I not only had the extra weight, but I had cancer, and I had heart disease. I mean, my total cholesterol. Anybody know what it's supposed to be? What's your total supposed to be? Anybody? 150 total cholesterol. Do you know what mine was? 31 years ago? It was 258. My then doctor said, you're going to die of your heart disease before your cancer. I was so depressed. Nope, not yet. I was so depressed, and I moved to a new neighborhood in Sacramento. I had been living in Davis before that. My children were raised in Davis. Fast forward, I am now 75 years old, and I've never felt better in my life. And you really want to feel like me when you're old. You want to feel like me when you're old, right? You really do want to have health and vitality and energy. And so, because of what happened to me 31 years ago, my new neighbor back then, she said, oh, you can get rid of your heart disease, your cancer, and your obesity. Just get a hold of Dr. John McDougall. How many of you heard of Dr. John McDougall? Oh, wow. A lot of you. That's good. He saved my life. I would have been dead about 30 years ago. 30 years ago, I wouldn't have been here. So now, because she told me about him, we were walking our dogs around the park, and I thought, oh, how lovely. We can walk our dogs around the park, and she's telling me how to get well. Well, 1 week later, that same night she told me about Dr. John McDougall, I went straight to the bookstore. I bought his book. I read it overnight from cover to cover, and then I read it again. I couldn't believe what I was reading. Why didn't one of my doctors tell me this? Why didn't one person say, listen, you don't have to have that. You just change your food to a plant-based diet and you're good to go. He showed examples in that book of clients who had extreme arthritis, gone. People who were morbidly obese, gone. People who had heart disease, had cancer. In fact, if you come over to my booth, I'll show you Jessica Bowen. She had breast cancer, and she went to McDougall after she spent a year on chemotherapy. They still couldn't get rid of her breast cancer. They said, but we can't give you any more chemo right now because your body's too ravaged. So she got online and Googled, where can I help my breast cancer? And Dr. McDougall's name came up. She went straight to McDougall. She was size 22. She went from size 22 to size 4 in about a year. And she has had no more breast cancer. She goes around the world speaking now, Jessica does. And so when I saw what happened to these other people, and I had my own cancer to deal with, I said, I'm doing this. So and then the next week, my new neighbor and I were walking around the park here in Sacramento, over there in Curtis Park. I used to live over in that beautiful neighborhood. Anyway.